Imagine a car so dangerously fast that the United States government officially stepped in to stop its production. Picture a subcompact economy car, the kind designed for grocery runs and fuel thrift, suddenly lifting its front wheels off the asphalt as it screams toward a 10-second quarter mile. In 1971, a performance wizard named Joel Rosen took Chevrolet's biggest failure and stuffed it with the heart of a legend. He didn't just build a fast car, he built a lawsuit on wheels. This is the story of the Baldwin Motion Vega, the 500-horsepower sleeper that terrified supercars and ultimately broke the rules of the American road. By the dawn of the 1970s, the American automotive landscape was shifting under the weight of new reality. The era of the bloated, high-displacement muscle car was facing a dual threat: rising insurance premiums and the impending shadow of stricter emissions regulations. General Motors responded by launching the Chevrolet Vega in 1970. It was intended to be the little car that does everything well, a lightweight subcompact designed to fight off the influx of fuel-efficient imports from Europe and Japan. However, while the Vega was aesthetically pleasing, its aluminum block four-cylinder engine was plagued by reliability issues and underwhelming performance. It was a car built for economy, not adrenaline. But on Long Island, New York, a partnership between Baldwin Chevrolet and Motion Performance saw a different potential. Joel "Mr. Motion" Rosen, a seasoned drag racer and tuner, looked at the 2,100-pound chassis of the Vega and saw the perfect power-to-weight ratio waiting to happen. Rosen had already made a name for himself by shoehorning 427 cubic inch big blocks into Camaros and Chevelles, offering a legendary guaranteed or your money back performance promise. In 1971, he decided to apply that same radical philosophy to the smallest car in the Chevy lineup. The goal was simple: create a vehicle that could outrun almost anything on the street while maintaining the unassuming silhouette of an entry-level commuter. The transformation from a humble commuter to the Motion Vega was a feat of radical engineering. Rosen began by discarding the factory four-cylinder power plant. In its place, he installed a solid lifter, high-compression LT, one 350 cubic inch V8, the same high-revving engine found in the Corvette and the Camaro Z28. To ensure the car didn't just go fast but stayed together, Motion Performance reinforced the chassis and utilized a specialized Hono drive, overdrive system, or heavy-duty Muncie 4-speed transmissions. The technical specifications were staggering for 1971. While the stock Vega struggled to produce 90 horsepower, the Motion version was tuned to deliver between 350 and 500 horsepower, depending on the customer's budget. This was achieved through the addition of a Holley 750 CFM double-pumper carburetor, an aluminum high-rise intake manifold, and custom headers that exited into a high-flow exhaust system. Because the LT1 was significantly heavier than the original engine, Rosen reworked the suspension with heavy-duty springs and adjustable shocks to keep the nose from diving under braking. What made the Motion Vega truly special was its sleeper aesthetic. While some customers opted for the iconic Motion GT stripes and flared fenders, many were delivered with stock hubcaps and factory paint colors. To the untrained eye, it was just another economy car. To the driver of a Ferrari or a Hemi Challenger, it was a nightmare. On the drag strip, these cars were consistently hitting the 11-second range in the quarter mile, with some highly tuned versions dipping into the tens. Early reception among the hardcore racing community was electric. The car became a symbol of grassroots engineering triumphing over corporate restraint. It wasn't just a car, it was a statement that performance would not go quietly into the night. Rosen's shop, Motion Performance, became a pilgrimage site for those who wanted a supercar killer with a Chevy bow tie on the grill. Each car was hand-built and dyno-tested, ensuring that the Motion badge remained a mark of absolute authority on the streets of New York. By 1972, the Baldwin Motion Vega reached the peak of its notoriety. It was the fastest accelerating car a civilian could purchase from a dealership if they knew the right people. But beneath the chrome and the smell of high-octane fuel, the walls were closing in. The very thing that made the Motion Vega a masterpiece, its raw, unfiltered power, was exactly what made it a target for the federal government. The first warning signs didn't come from the track, but from the Department of Justice and the Environmental Protection Agency. As the Clean Air Act began to take hold, the EPA grew increasingly frustrated with aftermarket tuners, who bypassed emissions equipment to achieve high performance. The Motion Vega was a primary offender. It was a brand new car being sold through a franchise dealer that lacked smog pumps, catalytic converters, or any regard for the new federal standards. In 1974, the hammer finally fell. The EPA contacted Joel Rosen with a cease and desist order that would become legendary in automotive history. They threatened Motion Performance with a fine of $10,000 per car for every vehicle sold that didn't meet federal emissions or safety standards. For a small shop like Rosen's, this was a death sentence for his V8 swapped subcompacts. The government argued that the cars were too fast for their chassis and too dirty for the environment. Beyond the legal battles, the Vega itself was proving to be a flawed foundation. The stock Chevy Vega was becoming known as one of the most rust-prone and unreliable cars in American history. While Rosen's engine and drivetrain were bulletproof, the thin sheet metal and cooling systems of the base car often struggled to handle the immense heat and torque generated by a 500-horsepower V8. Competitors like the Shelby Mustang had faded into more luxury-oriented roles, and the era of the factory-sanctioned street outlaw was being legislated out of existence. The 1973 oil crisis further soured the public's appetite for a car that measured fuel economy in feet rather than miles per gallon. The production of the V8 Motion Vega effectively ended in 1974 following the EPA intervention. Baldwin Chevrolet eventually ceased its performance partnership, and by 1977, the Chevrolet Vega itself was discontinued, leaving behind a legacy of disappointment for GM. However, the handful of Motion Vegas that escaped the crusher became instant legends. It is estimated that fewer than 50 genuine Baldwin Motion Vegas were ever produced, and of those, only a dozen or so are known to survive today in their original configuration. The industry learned a harsh lesson from Joel Rosen. There was a limit to how far a privateer could push the boundaries of federal law. Today, these cars are among the most sought-after prizes in the muscle car world. At auctions like Barrett-Jackson or Mecum, a documented Motion Vega can command prices well into the six-figure range, often outselling the very Corvettes and Ferraris it once hunted on the street. The cultural memory of the Motion Vega lives on as a symbol of American defiance. It represents a brief, shining moment when a small shop on Long Island could take the worst car in America and turn it into the fastest thing on the road. It remains the ultimate sleeper, a reminder that you should never judge a car by its footprint, and that with enough displacement, even a Vega can touch the sky. The 1971 Motion Vega was a car that shouldn't have existed, built by a man who refused to follow the rules. It proved that performance isn't just about aerodynamics or technology. It's about the courage to put too much engine in too little car. If you remember the golden age of Baldwin Motion or ever saw one of these sleepers in person, leave a comment below. Don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into automotive history.